Preventing medication errors and harm to clients is considered the most essential task for a nurse. Even though there are protocols to nursing practice, this may not be achieved when fatigue and lack of sleep are factored in. Is there a connection between fatigued nurses, client safety, and medication errors in the hospital setting? The problem is that nurses can work extra shifts to make more money or compensate for staffing shortages. When nurses do not sleep enough, they cannot be alert to care for their clients. Nurses are the client's defense when it comes to medication errors. It is the nurse's responsibility to deliver medication to the clients after the provider gives the order. The nurse is the last defense the client has between the medication being ordered and the administration of the medication. If the nurse is not alert enough to follow the rules of medication administration, the nurse could deliver the incorrect medication, dose, or route at the wrong time or even to the wrong client. It may not be intentional, but we all know when we are tired, we may skip important tasks unknowingly. The available research on this clinical problem is not as extensive as I would have liked. There is, however, research on the burnout of nurses. In my opinion, that is relative to nurses being fatigued or overworked due to burnout from understaffing or high client to nurse ratios and working 3 12-hour shifts in a row. It could actually be more like 4 shifts in a row if the nurses picked up additional shifts. I have heard of some nurses working up to 8 shifts in a row to maximize vacation time or to have more days off in a row without having to work. One study that I read by DiMuzio that was done in 2017, it studied how nurse shift work put patient safety at risk. And they concluded the main reasons behind medication errors are stress, fatigue, increased workload, night shifts, nurse staffing ratios, and workflow interruptions. These factors can have a significant negative impact on the health and the performance of the employee. Operationalizing a change in practice to combat nurses being fatigued at work would be through education of the importance of coming to work rested. Policies would need to be put in place that would allow nurses to use a safe nurse day off. If the nurse feels they are too tired and their fatigue may compromise the safety of a client, they can use this safe nurse day. It would come with no repercussions if used in moderation. These days would be unpaid, allowing the nurse to pick up another shift with at least one day in between. This would allow the nurse to rest and feel more alert. We all know that we could use an extra nurse some days. Some obstacles and barriers to implementation may be that the nurses would not want to admit that their lack of rest could be putting a client at risk. Administrators may not want to risk the low staff numbers when a nurse is unable to work. The theoretical model used to overcome barriers would be the Erickson's model and the role modeling theory. Using self-care knowledge, self-care resources, and self-care action. This theory applies to nurses and the need to care for themselves, which can help lower the risk of clients and their lack of self-care or risk or rest that can have an impact on a client's safety. It is important for a nurse to make sure they are getting enough rest and taking care of their own health needs. If the nurse is not taking care of their own health, how will she take care of a client's health? It would be like hiring a personal trainer at the gym that does not work out at the gym or walk or work at all. Or work out at all. Think about hiring a nutritional coach that eats fast food all the time and drinks tons of soda. It may be difficult to believe they can help you be healthy if they are not healthy themselves. This is what it would be like for a nurse that is providing care to a client but does not take her self-care seriously. Internal evidence includes healthcare, institutional-based quality improvement projects, outcome management incentives, and clinical expertise. This may include an interdisciplinary committee that specifically collects information or provides insight into the into the clinical problem at hand. Internal evidence would be demonstrated using chart surveys to research reported safety errors, then determine what nurse was working at the time of the error. Then cross-reference with the nurse's schedule to determine if that nurse may have been on their third day of 3 12-hour shifts in a row, or if they picked up an additional shift and did not allow themselves enough rest in between shifts. Doing an anonymous survey of nurses that may have felt they were tired but still worked to see if they made errors could give a reference of how often this may occur. This would give data on the effect that lack of sleep or rest can have on a client's safety and provide quantitative data. Some ethical considerations may be that a nurse is free to choose how much rest they get before their shift. They cannot be told or mandated to get enough sleep. It may sound to them like they are having their privacy infringed on. It would have to be the nurse's decision to report whether they feel they had enough sleep or rest in order to keep their clients safe. Evaluating the outcomes would be done by using chart reviews and other outcomes data to collect information on client care and safety. The change would indicate a reduction in medication errors and better health outcomes for the clients. There would be fewer client safety concerns reported, and clients would have better health outcomes and satisfaction of care. Disseminating information on this change would be done by distributing the findings during board meetings, given to stakeholders, and discussed in staff meetings. These findings could potentially be published in the hospital's journals and newsletters. Informational posters could be posted and placed in all staff break rooms and common areas, showing the need to improve the alertness of nurses and what the findings are showing. Training and education can be added to staffing, learning materials to help improve awareness. It is important to share the things learned when implementing a change. Whether that is success or new challenges have come to the surface, the sharing of the outcomes can lead to the development and implementation of interventions that may work to solve the problem in a better manner. Again, the goal here is to make improvements. The information would be included in a campaign type, bringing attention to the risks of not being rested while caring for clients and what can happen when a nurse is not alert. Nurses would need to be educated as well on the repercussions of putting a client at risk and potentially causing a medication error. No nurse wants to lose their license over lack of sleep. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.